Kristi Noem. She is now, it would appear, being called out by the judge. When I say called out, I mean she may have some very serious legal repercussions as a result of shining on the judge's order to turn those planes around, those planes filled with immigrants who had been, in some cases, wrongfully detained, and in the judge's view, unlawfully detained. That is to say, you didn't go through the legal processes associated with detaining them as you're sending them to El Salvador and that notorious concentration camp down there, prison in El Salvador. So that became a controversial conversation around those actions, but it at the same time was a legal proceeding. And once again, to remind you, the judge in that case said, I don't care if the planes have already taken off. I don't care where the planes are. Turn them around and bring those people back. That was the judge's order. Kristi Noem and the administration just went about sending those people to El Salvador anyway, didn't turn the planes around. And now, based on questions from the court, the administration is saying, hey, it wasn't our thing. It was Kristi Noem who made that decision. She was aware of the judge's order, and she's the one who went on with this order anyway. Here's the way the news broke today with one of the most laborious anchors you'll ever listen to. You always feel like she can't quite get the copy out, but here she is with the word about the Kristi Noem story.
Top story this morning, the Department of Justice has revealed that Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem made the final decision not to comply with the federal judge's order earlier this year to stop those deportation flights of alleged Venezuelan gang members under the Alien Enemies Act. According to a court filing, Noem was informed of the judge's orders to turn the flights around last March, but she decided that the detainees had already been removed from the United States so they could continue to be transferred to the notorious Seacourt prison in El Salvador. The disclosure comes as Judge James Boasberg seeks to revive criminal contempt proceedings against Trump administration officials who authorized the flights. The Justice Department argued the decision was lawful and consistent with its interpretation of the court's order, but Judge Boasberg said deportees likely did not receive due process. Additionally, a whistleblower has alleged former Principal Deputy Attorney General Emil Bovee told subordinates to consider ignoring court orders, which Bovee denied during Senate confirmation hearings. Plaintiffs want at least 9 current or former Trump officials to testify in contempt hearings, including Bovee. So, Joe.
Yeah, so the question then becomes what happens to her. So, essentially it is, as I was saying, something of a clear case. I mean, the administration themselves saying to the court, it was Kristi Noem's decision. So, I mean, this is a contempt inquiry, right? You've got a contempt of court inquiry that's looming. And Kristi Noem could very easily be held in contempt of court. And, she is, in my judgment, and I think of the judgment of many Americans, pursuing a reckless course when it comes to the deportation of so many that are scooped up on the street from courthouses where they have appointments to actually adjudicate their immigration status in this country. They are arrested, detained, and deported. And this is, understand, a Stephen Miller strategy and blueprint, but the reality is that Kristi Noem is executing this, her ICE officers that she parades around, and these security missions that she also performatively videos, even the video in El Salvador of the notorious prison there, is all stuff that she's quite proud of, and it fits well into that Miller strategy.
I will say I have big questions about this case. I wonder, is it the judge who said, tell us who was responsible for that decision and they legally had to say? Or was it some type of political infighting where all of a sudden they're willing to throw Kristi Noem under the bus? Why did this information come out now? Are you there?
Yeah, can you hear me
Okay,
or
good.
not? I
Yeah,
don't know.
now I
Yeah,
can.
yeah. I'm so sorry. We're
you
having.
froze up for
By
a
the way,
second.
yeah, I'll
Yeah.
address the the interruptions
Yeah.
in a second.
Mhm.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, there is a question there. You know, is Noam being thrown under the bus, or exactly what's happening? And I thought in that report, and the reason that we ran that report too is I thought it appropriately mentioned Emile Beauvais, who was saying, you know, he literally used the words, according to the whistleblower, "F the court's judgment, F the judge's order."
Mhm.
And so there really was an F the judge's order attitude and indeed actions associated with the deportation of those people. And, you know, these removal flights, hundreds of Venezuelan men and claim to be members of the gang end up on these flights. And as we know, not all of them were members of the gang. So, but
Does
your point or your question is a good
yeah.
one. Like, you know,
Does it signal the end of Kristi Noem?
right. Is she being thrown under the bus to protect
Yeah.
others, et cetera?
Right.
Yeah. But, I mean, the defense of the move was always flimsy. I mean, the argument in the court was that the initial order that required them to return them was not binding because it was just an oral order, and the written order couldn't apply to the flights because they were already on their way. But as I mentioned, the judge said, no, I mean, you're showing a contempt. This is contempt of court and a willful disregard of my order. That's what he said. So I think somebody's going to have to pay this bill, and it may be Kristi Noem. Now, again, Kristi Noem knows that Donald Trump will pardon her for whatever. There's no price to be paid for any of the grotesque wrongdoing being done by this administration, because Trump will get you a literal get out of jail free card. But nonetheless, it's once again drawing attention to something that I think doesn't play well in the public, and probably in the end, it's a net loss for the administration, and it also, for those of us who care about the truth, it does shed light on what happened, and it doesn't surprise me that Kristi Noem was behind all of this. It's also worth noting that White House Press Secretary Caroline Levitt's relative was detained by ICE. Do you have anything more on this? I can't get to the story because it's a
yes.
Yeah,
and
okay.
my first thought was, does she not like this person? Because is she the one that called it in? Because she would turn on a relative.
That is true. Yeah, she
she's
would
mean
definitely.
girl enough to do that.
She's the kind of person who would turn in
Yeah.
Anne Frank's family. That's exactly right. Yeah.
I mean, that's her. That's who. Look at how that sour look on her face.
Yeah.
So this is Caroline Levitt, her relative detained by ICE. Kind of. She has a nephew, and the nephew's mom, who apparently is Brazilian, was arrested. The nephew's mom has some issues, like has been arrested for assault, this type of thing. It's the mother of Caroline Levitt's nephew who was taken into custody in Revere, Massachusetts. Her name is Bruna Caroline Ferreira. They call her a, quote, criminal illegal alien from Brazil who overstayed her tourist visa, which expired in June of 1999. She has an arrest on suspicion of battery. The source that the NBC News is quoting here says this woman has never lived with Levitt's nephew, so she's a biological mom. So we don't know how close she is to Caroline Levitt or to the family, but she now is at the South Louisiana ICE Processing Center amid proceedings to have her removed from the United States. So Kristi Noem says a spokesperson for Noem says all individuals unlawfully present in the U.S. are subject to deportation. Levitt's nephew.
It's interesting. She was supposedly, according to her attorney, a DACA recipient. So that's a deferred action for childhood arrivals, right? So she was getting protection under DACA. That's temporary protection, and And by the way, she is, and I don't know what she looks like now, but I would say she's among the better looking detainees. So if there's I don't know. I'm just saying, in an administration that only really cares about how people look, I'd say, no, she's Donald Trump. I'm saying you'd probably take a shot at that. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, my goodness.
She was unable to renew her status after the DACA situation had expired, apparently. And that occurred during Trump's efforts to end the program. So sort of that's what her attorney is arguing has left her in this situation and exposed to deportation. But it's
you get the feeling with the Levitt, Caroline Levitt's family, that this lady is really on the periphery. So she's not necessarily a close relative. The nephew had lived full time with the father since he was born, never lived with the mother, hasn't spoken to her in many years. So,
Agreed. Hi, it's Mark, and I thought that was great. Hit the notification bell. You'll know whenever there's a new video being dropped, and please subscribe to our channel to help us save the universe.